I'm gonna hit record. There we go.
All
Now
right.
we'll fill for a minute. You had friends in
This is the part.
Portland get temps actually hotter than Vegas, and that is freaking scary. It is.
Yeah.
Someone in the Discord said that it's gonna be similar to, like, the Pacific Northwest going over 110 is gonna be similar to the, what did he call it, the polar Armageddon in Texas, because people just aren't prepared for weathers of that extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard any horrible bad things about it, but I also haven't been looking, so.
My sister lives in Vegas, and even though, yes, it's not really humid there, it's still, in the really, really highs, like a lot.
Yeah, that's where
One time
Pinball
we,
lives.
oh, really? I may have known that at some point. I apologize. But last time we went to go visit her, which was actually a while ago, we went to a pool, went inside to have some lunch, came back outside, and Carrie's sandals had melted.
Like, that's not
And it,
funny, but that's funny.
I mean, it is funny, except that like it was Tevas. They were like nice sandals that she can't just like find anywhere, or just find everywhere, anywhere, wherever. Hard to replace, and they had melted. So yeah,
Buh.
yeah.
All right, well, that is a minute 30. Of course, Mike just said BRB, so we can't actually start yet. It is a little funny, yeah. So hi everybody. By the way, welcome. I see you show up and we're talking about new cards, but we're talking about weird red cards. You don't show up. I see.
Well,
you.
have faith. I'm sure there's some new weird red cards in here too.
Oh,
I
almost
have
certainly.
I have not. I have seen a lot of these. I have not seen all of these. So it's going to be a mix of like. Sometimes I haven't seen almost any of them, especially with some of the supplementary sets like Modern Horizons. I don't always keep up with them day to day. This one I've checked a couple times over the week. I have not checked them, I think, today.
The only ones I've seen are the ones that get dropped into the Manipool Discord, and for some reason, Will Blanks, remember him? He used to be our behind the scenes guy from Monday Night Magic.
Yeah.
We're friends on Facebook, and he's just constantly dropping a post that is one card with a comment as just a Facebook post. Constantly. And for some reason, Facebook thinks that I want to see these cards from Will's posts. So anytime I open up Facebook, like the first two posts are... One of the first two posts is a Will talking about a card. And I go, huh. And my brain can't help but read it if it's in front of me. So... it's very strange.
In the chat, there's the discussion. I guess Pinball said that you can actually cook an egg on the asphalt, and I had always heard about that ever since I was a kid. And there's a small debate in here of like, are they tastier? And she said no, and I'm just like, yeah, probably not. The fact that you can do it is neat, but I think as a kid we talked about doing it, but I grew up in Ohio. You're much likelier to get like ice cream outside than cooking anything.
Tell Mike to hurry up and stop getting poisoned. Mike, you know what? I opened up my phone to text Mike a couple days ago, and that text was still sitting there. Mike never responded to it. I texted Mike while I was streaming Final Fantasy because he kept getting poisoned, and he was using all my damn antidotes. And finally, I got frustrated and texted him, "Damn it, Mike, stop getting poisoned. You're using all the antidotes." And he never responded.
What's that a reference to?
What? A reference to me playing Final Fantasy, and Mike kept getting poisoned. I literally just said that.
Just told you.
Yeah.
In case I didn't mention earlier, I'm a little tired. But I'm going to keep up. I'm really looking forward to this, but whew.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Shut
sorry.
up, Brian. All right, Mike is back. Here we go. Oh, jam. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Manipool. This is episode 626 of the mana pool. Not 66. 626. 626.
66 was many, 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 followed by many, many's, years ago.
Indeed. But yeah, we are here tonight to talk about, what's it called, damn it? Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. There we go. The D&D set. I can never remember that. So I am Chewy, the lead dork, and just because I know it'll bother Brian, I'm going to introduce everyone. We've got Brian, who is our lead rambler, and what's the other thing?
Tangent master.
Right.
If you're going to do it right.
No. So that's Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey.
And we have next. Who is it, Mike? Mike, yeah. Who is it Brian always interrupts? It's Mike, who is our rules guy and our game lore guy.
Hello, everybody.
And then Dirk, who's probably muted, and I'm saying this so he can check, is our self-proclaimed greenest man alive and the moral compass of the group.
That's me.
And then Pinball Witch threw 626 bits. Whoa. And said, the Stitch episode! Ah! I forgot he was 626. Like, saying it that way, 626, stuck out of my mind for some reason, but I couldn't remember why. It's because of Stitch. He would never make more than one. But yes, before we get into the D&D thing, though, I have a link that I have kept from the Dorks until just now.
He's been very cryptic about it, which is usually my thing. So
it is usually your thing. But
this...
Whoops.
Oh, this thing.
Nah.
Yeah, so for anyone that didn't know, this was announced just yesterday, day before. Magic Legends! That big, speaking of cryptic, that big dungeon crawler type game that Cryptic Studios was doing that came out in beta on PC and was kind of buggy, but that's to be expected from a beta. Yeah, they've announced that it's gonna they're killing it on Halloween.
It makes me sad because I liked the premise and I didn't really have a computer that could handle it. I tried to do it on the desktop, and this is a desktop I use basically just for like Microsoft Word and talking to these guys. So I was like, well, cool, it'll come out on PS4 later this year. And guess not. I'm not like beaten up about it, but I was like, oh, it was gonna be cool. So sad panda.
That? Hey, Pinball just resubbed. For 45 months. She said, oh, I missed this button earlier. Rip Magic Legends, you weren't very good, and you won't really be remembered.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently, it's just not great. I know that at first, if you were in any of the common areas where other people loaded in, then instead of getting frames per second, you sort of got seconds per frame, which is never good. Hey, Panaynuva just subbed for the 27th month. And yeah, I'm getting to that. But it was kind of buggy. It had a very bizarre and aggressive monetization model that had, Pana just said, 13 different currencies, and that alone deserves punishment. Yeah. And from what I understand, it just wasn't that much fun. Like, there wasn't much that was interesting to do. Like, one of the things about, like, Diablo games is that there's cool stuff to do. Now, that I'm only supposing. I never actually played this game myself. I was going to wait for them to iron out some of the bugs before I gave it a shot. But, I never, ever saw anybody, like, excited about something. Anywhere. And Gothic had played it. He said that it was really buggy, that sometimes you would be having a cutscene and it would just stop and the camera would go point at something over there for no reason. And you're like, And somebody in the Discord, I think it was Umpax, just tried it. Umpax, are you still here? What is it you said in the Discord? I forgot. And I don't feel like going to track it down live on the air. But
Umpax is here.
It would freeze during loading screens. Oh. Yeah, see, that's awful. Like, freeze to the point you'd have to restart? Like, shut it down? Because in a game like that, there's a lot of loading screens. Yes. Oh, that sucks. Okay, yeah. They had a lot of cool ideas. Like, I still think that the idea of building a deck of your abilities and having them in your hand so that what your character can do at any given point is different was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had a chance to play it a little bit, and the premise of it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But the problem for me was it just didn't feel very interesting. And so, and I don't know if it's just that I'm not like solidly into the Magic universe, and that's why I lost interest. I played it for maybe about 2 hours, and then was like, I might get back to it at some point. And there were just other things I wanted to play, and so it just never really moved up on my wanting to play list.
Yeah.
Being dull is even worse than being buggy. But if it had both, yeah, no wonder.
Yeah. Just really is too bad.
Now, it does say that all players who spent money in-game across Arc and the Epic Games Store during the open beta will be refunded their full purchase amounts.
That caught my eye.
That blew me away. I was like, really?
Do you suppose Wizards made this decision?
No. Sure, if Wizards made that decision, that money would be refunded to them. But it says servers will remain open until closing day, which is, again, Halloween, October 31st. However, we will be closing the Zen shop effective immediately. I guess that's the shop where you spend real money, I guess?
Yeah,
Probably.
Yeah, because there's something at the bottom of this page that says Zen costs have been converted to Aether costs. So, yeah.
Yeah, Ether is the free in-game currency, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, it says that right here in the next line, yeah. Later this week, all items will instead be purchasable using Ether, our free in-game currency. Our vision for Magic Legends missed the mark, but we are proud of what we achieved. Thanks to Wizards of the Coast, we got to bring the expansive MTG multiverse to a wide audience and explore new angles within the established ARPG genre. What? Oh, explore. Yeah, like with the Hand of Spells thing, which I still think is a really neat idea. We learned several valuable lessons along the way, and we'll use them to improve Cryptic's future development efforts. Most importantly, we'd like to thank all of the players who explored the multiverse with us and provided feedback during the alpha and beta testing phases. We couldn't have gotten this far without you. Sincerely, Steve Ricasa. And then there's some questions here. When and how and what and whatnot, but yeah. The question that was posed to me as soon as this popped was, will Magic ever work in a non-card game thing? And I said it's got to. It's too big and flavorful and awesome. It's just that it's not the Magic part that's bad, it's the games themselves that aren't working. Like, apparently Magic Puzzle Quest is totally still working. So that's a thing, although that does have card game elements. It's not a card game. But Magic, the little MOBA game that I played, that's like Minion Masters.
Yeah. I tried it for a little bit. You stuck with it much longer than I did. Yeah, that one.
I finally uninstalled it, so I can't open up my phone and look because it shut down. So I can't open up my phone and look at it. But that one, chat. What the hell was it called? Clash? No, Mana Strike. Thank you, Chifuji. I'm glad you're here because I knew you'd know. But yeah, Magic Mana Strike was fun. I actually really liked it. It was like Minion Masters but better. And I had already, played Minion Masters for quite a while. So, that was cool, but it just didn't pick up a player base enough to keep going, which is unfortunate. But it's a mobile game. Mobile games come and go. But something like this with Cryptic, who is, they have several MMO games that are still running for several years. We talked about this a very long time ago. Remember that episode, you guys? We had Cap on. And it was a lot of fun. We talked about all of the different things you could do with Magic in the video game world.
Yeah, I remember having this conversation.
And we came up with some killer ideas. I still think that a city builder set in Ravnica where you have to use the guilds would work, damn it. But
Now I'm picturing that guy with green hair from SimCity.
Yeah, except there's a different version of him for each guild.
Yeah.
One of them he's half frog, that's Simic. One of them he's got a big scar and a spear, that's Boros. Anyway, but the problem is that I guess Wizards of the Coast is just shopping around to the lowest bidder or something. I don't know. There was a tactical game, MTG Tactics, I think is what it was called. I never played that one either. But this is sort of like when, if you'll cast your mind back to I think it's the 2000s, Catwoman, the movie with Halle Berry came out, and it was bad.
Yeah.
And Elektra came out, and it was bad. And studios decided that, all right, women superheroes just don't sell movies, so we should stop making them forever. Even though it had nothing to do with the women superheroes. It had to do with the fact that the movies were crap. And,
yep.
And that's a similar thing that's going on here. It's not that Magic itself in other genres is the problem. It's the fact that the fruits of those labors are not tasty. Pinball Witch says, Pleasant Kenobi said back when it started that they didn't use much actual Magic cards and creatures in the actual game. Why wouldn't you use the resources of this game? Right? But, whatever. I just thought we should talk about that first because as much as I was probably not going to play this, and if so, not for very long, it was Magic branching out into something else that was, it seemed going to be long running, but nope.
Wasn't there was a game way back yet that you played as a planeswalker, and that were, I think it was before planeswalkers were really changed. So you picked a mana color and you could play as a chroma, or you could play as who's
the 360 game.
Yeah.
Or no, the original Xbox game rather. I think it was on PC too. I can't remember what that one was called either.
Battlegrounds.
No. That's the one.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure that's right.
I've never played it, but I've seen YouTube videos of which is the way to play bad games is to watch other people play them for you. And so it's not like they've never tried before. But watching that game made me glad that I never played it because
yeah, that one was a weird one.
Yeah.
But oh well. At some point we'll have to talk about Magic in video games again and see what else we can come up with, but not this episode. So, we should get to the actual topic at hand.
Yes.
So, as you may well know, we're not getting a core set this year. Instead, we're getting Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which is the D&D crossover
Yeah.
game.
Although, interestingly enough, I think they've said that this won't be quote unquote canon for Magic storytelling, which, I mean, okay, but usually that's not something they do with a standard legal set. So it just feels a little weird that way, but that's story and that's not cards. And we're here to talk about cards. So
It's
cards.
True. So cards. Well, in this mechanics set, there's a card that's not part of the mechanics.
Yeah.
I don't actually know why this is here.
I think I think it's there for hype. It's absolutely for hype.
That makes sense, because look at it.
Because it's Dirk. What's this card do?
So, Circle of Dreams Druid, which one would hope is a druid. For 3 green mana, it's a rare elf druid that's a 2/1, and says tap, add green for each creature you control.
Whew.
Doesn't matter what type. If it's
I've,
a creature and you control it, you get green mana for it.
I feel like I have seen this rules text before.
Yeah, on a very expensive land.
On a very expensive land. It's called something Cradle or Gaia's something. I don't know. It'll come to me. It is a creature.
Greenest land I ever saw.
It is a creature, so it's eminently more killable. You can't play it down on the first turn, but Cradle is not really fair. And, you know, mark my words, and in like 10 years, I'm sure they'll reprint Gaia's Cradle, but I don't see them reprinting Gaia's Cradle in standard, whereas this is standard legal. So,
Indeed.
Yeah. And I haven't been thinking a whole lot about strategy. I've been playing some Arena, but I haven't thought about like Magic deck building in a while. But I'm thinking in standard, you know, what's something we're seeing a whole lot of? Pests. And pests are a really easy way to get a lot of creatures, small creatures, very quickly. So, and they're in green. So, So, yeah, not sure why they put that there, except to be like, oh, by the way, Gaia's Cradle on a creature. Next.
That's probably it, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the first big thing, that this was the one that we mentioned last week. Yes, we saw it, but we're not going to talk about it until next week. So it's next week now. And that's Dungeons.
Yes. Because Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. And Dungeons are a whole new thing. And this is a thing I've seen pop up every once in a while. I don't think of this set as a core set just because it's popping up in the core set slot. Like,
oh no, this is way
some
more
complicated
complex.
Nonsense as far as core sets go.
I don't even think of this as a core set because
because it's not.
No.
But for some reason, some people have it in their head that it is.
Right. So the easiest, I know my analogies are not the best, but bear with me here. The easiest way to think of Dungeons to me is a little bit like Commanders, in the sense that these start outside of your deck, and unlike Commanders, you never actually have to cast these cards. In fact, you can't cast a dungeon card, but you will have other ways of interacting with them, and they'll affect the way you play the game. But they are never actually played to your battlefield. And that is where I'm going to stop trying to explain it, because of the four of us, I'm probably the one that's most going to make people confused if I try to explain it. So
it's true.
I'm going to uncharacteristically be quiet.
At great length, it took him to say that. So yeah, dungeons are tokens. They don't go in your deck. You always have all 3 dungeons available to you at all times, which is weird.
Yeah.
They don't take up sideboard slots. Wait, say that again?
I was going to say, so these things that you get in the packs are just really just tokens to represent them.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not something you have to collect in order to play with.
What? Okay, Pinball, don't start. Pinball says, they're not tokens, they're cards. Look, they've got the little T symbol on them, so the physical things that you get are tokens, all right? That's what I meant. There was a whole big discussion about whether or not something printed as a token could be a card or not in the Discord. It was actually really kind of fascinating, but not worth getting into here.
This is a new card type.
It's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
So the 3 dungeons are the Lost. Mike, do you know these as the D&D old guy?
The Tomb of Annihilation is the only one that was immediately familiar to me.
That was in a video game.
I recognize the Lost Mine of Phandelver.
Oh, okay. And then the other one is Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
A book you can buy.
Yeah, I think these are all modeled, correct me, on existing, was it modulars? That's not the modules.
Scenarios.
Yes, Marios. Demonetized.
Okay. Now, the way this works, like I said, you always have all 3 dungeons at a whim. You can get them whenever. Whenever you can. The way you get them is an effect that says, venture into the dungeon. So, for instance, Nadar, Selfless Paladin, for 2 and a white, is a 3/3 legendary dragon knight, because he's a dragonborn, not Skyrim, but D&D dragonborn.
Well done.
Okay, but he's a 3/3 dragon knight with vigilance, and he has a shiny sword, and it says, whenever Nadar, Selfless Paladin, enters the battlefield or attacks, venture into the dungeon. And then there's reminder text that says, enter the first room or advance to the next room. He also says other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as you've completed a dungeon. Now, if you're not looking at this, it's not going to make any sense.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend either watching the video version on YouTube or looking these up yourself at some point. But you start at the top of the dungeon, the first room. Boom. There's a little entrance at the top of each one, which is really cute. And then each room has a name, which is purely for flavor, and then a thing to do. So the Lost Mine of Phandelver says cave entrance, scry 1. So if you play Nadar and venture into the Lost Mine of Phandelver, then you will put some sort of marker or token or something on cave entrance and do what it says, which is scry 1. And then next turn, you attack with Nadar. So you venture into the dungeon, and that means you move to the next room. Now, you have a choice. There are several choices in all of these, but you can either move to the Goblin Lair and create a 1/1 Goblin creature token, or move into the Mine Tunnels and create a treasure token. And all these choices are purely up to you. There's no rolling dice or anything.
Right. Once you are in a dungeon, until that dungeon is completed, when you venture, you cannot choose a new dungeon. You have to finish the first one.
Right. Otherwise, that wouldn't make any sense.
Split the party. Ha 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 ha.
But yeah, you just move downwards on each level, and then I think it says when you get to the last room, are you done, or do you have to venture again?
I think
if you survive long enough, you'll reach the final room. After that room ability resolves or otherwise leaves the stack, the dungeon is removed from the game.
There you go.
And that means that you complete the dungeon. So you'll get to the Temple of Dumathoin. Anyway, and draw a card, and then boom, you complete the dungeon. Get rid of that dungeon, and you're good.
And collect $200.
No. But if you still have Nadar out, then your other creatures will get +1/+1.
Yeah.
Because now you've
And-
completed that dungeon.
And obviously, he doesn't need to see you complete the dungeon. If you've completed 2 dungeons before you even play Nadar, he immediately says, "Hey, I think you've completed 2 dungeons." Everybody else gets +2/+2. Yay!
Well, don't
No.
no. It is not per
Oh,
dungeon.
no, you're right.
It's a
you're
binary.
Right.
Have you completed a dungeon? Yes or no.
Yeah. Okay.
And if yes, that happens.
Correct. And I was mistaken about that. My point is that even if you play him later, the condition is satisfied. I misstated how the
Yes.
ability worked. So, gotta at least screw up one thing.
It's true. And that's good, because if one of us screwed up, then we can all correct whoever screwed up, and that way we know we're getting it right.
Yeah. The Tomb of Annihilation, to me, is possibly the most interesting dungeon, because you know me, I'm not like, ooh, every card has to have a drawback, but this has some really interesting choices. Do you mind if I cover this one?
Sure.
All right. So the first entrance, the entrance is the trapped entry. Each player loses 1 life. Then we're gonna you have a choice after that. The left path or the right path as you're looking at it. I'm going to cover the left path first. Left path, when you venture out of the trapped entry, you enter the Veils of Fear. Each player loses 2 life unless they discard a card. So it's interesting, both the first room and then this room hit each player with a negative effect. Then if you keep you really don't have a choice. Once you've entered the Veils of Fear, the only room you can go to from there next is the Sandfall Cell. Each player loses 2 life unless they sacrifice an artifact, a creature, or a land. So, yeah. And then finally, if you once you proceed from there, you're in the last room. So this is a short dungeon. That's what, a total of 4. I guess that's the same as the Lost Mine of Fendover, but last room is Cradle of the Death God. You create the Atropal, a legendary 4/4 black god horror creature token with Death Touch. And learning about D&D so I can run the game for the guys, I know what this represents, and I'm afraid the token is going to be horrifying. I'm not trying to be funny. Oh, horror, it's going to be gross. So there's a benefit to you at the end, whereas every other one has hit everybody with a negative effect. What makes this one interesting is you can choose the right path, and it only has 1 room between trapped entry and the Cradle of the Death God. It's okay, I'm going to mispronounce it. How do you say that word?
Oubliette.
Thank you. And no, it doesn't do what the magic card Oubliette does, before anybody asked. But this hits only you. You discard a card and sacrifice an artifact, a creature, and a land, which is awful. But then you get to go straight to the Cradle of Death God. So keep in mind, you can run a dungeon more than once, right? So if you had the resources, you could keep running the super short path over and over again. You're just going to run out of, I don't know, lands. So, yeah.
Wait, can you run dungeons more than once?
No.
No?
What?
Once you
It's
complete...
in there, I said,
Yeah, you can.
I thought it said it got discarded.
Well, yeah, no, it gets removed from the game, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're not allowed to do it ever again.
Oh.
The next time you venture into the dungeon, you can choose the very same dungeon you were just in, or you can head to a new one. Want another dance with the Mad Mage? Think the Tomb of Annihilation is more to your liking? So yeah, again, super short path, but whew. So this one, I think, to me, is very interesting because it gives you some really kind of interesting choices. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
We could tell, yeah. And then
Yeah.
the Dungeon of the Mad Mage has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 levels.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned, oh, you can use a token or something to represent your path. And somebody in chat said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they made like a little mini that you could move along? But it'd have to be tiny. And it'd have to be small for the first 2. For the last one, it would have to be like a dime on its edge, because man, this is. I mean, these rooms are small, so they can fit them all in.
So yeah.
So, Mike,
Like-
what's the Dungeon of the Mad Mage?
What? Let's not bother
Oh,
reading
okay.
all the dungeons. Like we
Okay.
didn't even read the first one.
Oh, I thought we did. Oh no, we didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't.
we
did
skipped
we?
a whole step
I
because
jumped.
what it actually doesn't matter. But you were so excited, we just let you go.
I was. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah, every time that you have a card that says venture into the dungeon, you either start a new one, or if you've already started one, you move forward. And it's neat. So the other card here is the Shortcutseeker. Hey Mike, you haven't said anything in a while. Tell us about the Shortcutseeker.
Sure. The Shortcutseeker is a common creature that likes to venture into dungeons. For 3 and a blue, you get a 2/5 human rogue. And whenever Shortcutseeker deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon.
Yep, nice and simple, basic, common.
Yeah. It's the rogue that wants to sneak through. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's going to be a pretty large component of the set because they want it to work in limited.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's
I
why.
remember reading something like either late last week or very early this week where someone had written up an article that was like, I really don't know how practical venturing into dungeons is going to be after like literally 2 cards with venture into the dungeon had been previewed. So of course, through the week, it's like there's so many cards. It's like, do this thing. Oh, and by the way, venture into the dungeon. You're like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, this is how reveals in the new set are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, some people.
Man, this mechanic is trash because I haven't seen how it works yet.
So there you go. Here's another example. Sort of like Nadar. Nadar has venture and cares if you've completed a dungeon. And then we have the Gloom Stalker. Hey Mike, tell us about that one too, because Brian talks too much.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's true.
The Gloom Stalker. It's another common card. For 2 and a white, you get a 2/3 Dwarf Ranger. As long as you've completed a dungeon, Gloom Stalker has double strike.
I mean, a common for 3 mana? That's not bad.
No.
Look at him being a Dwarf Ranger. Huh. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you had the Gloom Stalker when you completed the dungeon. None of that. It's just when the Gloom Stalker hits the battlefield. Have you ever completed a dungeon this game? Check yes or no. And so that's a nice touch. Because if they all said, if you completed a dungeon while this is on the battlefield, that's just awful. But yeah, it's just a bunch of small effects that all do stuff, make treasures or scry or gaining life or Punisher effects or whatever, that are just completely what's the word I'm like, separate from everything else. So like Nadar as a 3/3 with vigilance that does thing, and if you've done thing enough times there's a bonus, is neat. But the fact that every time you do thing you're actually doing things is just a really cool idea. And of course it's very flavorful because D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then dragons. There are plenty of dragons in the set, but they're not really a mechanic. They just demanded equal billing after that dungeon section. Ah, okay. And then ampersands. No, stop.
It took me a minute.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh yeah.
Wow. That's awful. Who wrote
See, it
this?
took me a minute because they didn't
Is
put the
this Tayback?
ampersands before the dragons.
Of course it's Tayback. Okay. All right, so then we have this other really cool thing that if you don't know this and you just look at a couple of cards, you're like, there are so many mechanics in this set. No.
Yeah.
It turns out that they're not really. They have a lot of what they're calling flavor words, and they look like ability words, but I don't think they actually are going to go into the rules anywhere. Which ability words really don't mean anything anyway. They're just there as a shortcut. So the first one that I remember seeing is so bad it was sweep. You guys remember sweep?
Oh.
Yes.
That's the one where when you cast a spell, you had sweep, and with sweep, you bounced some number of lands to your hand to make the ability better. For each land you return to your hand, this happens again. And it's really dumb, but they all did something different. Like there's the one that gave a creature +1/+1 for each land you bounced, and one that gave all your creatures actually +1/+1 for each land you bounced, but whatever. That's fine. It was there to just instill in your brain that all these cards have a similar idea. Like, what's a more recent one that's not stupid?
Sweep.
That is neither recent nor less stupid.
I will show myself out.
Landfall is the classic one.
Oh, there you go.
Landfall. There you go. Landfall is the classic one. And every landfall ability does something different, but it's there so that you know that it's all about lands entering the battlefield. What happens when lands enter the battlefield, that's card specific, but it's all about lands entering the battlefield. The flavor words on these cards are not that. They are just flavor. Hey, my name is 14. Thank you for that 35-month resub. And he said, wow, that's a... Okay. So... yeah, these are all here to... instead of tie all these disparate mechanics together in your head, these are here to just make things, I guess, easier to grok, more flavorful, feel more like D&D.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just making it feel more like D&D. But for some of them, it gives you a little explanation as to what the ability represents, and it does help understand what the card is doing. But mostly it's just like you're feeling more like playing D&D.
Yeah. Side note, you're now going to see a bunch of cards that all start with U.
And I find that hilarious.
Yeah. So the whole, you know how if we ever go back to real life Magic and you ever go to a Grand Prix that's limited, so you have to sort the cards, right? You have to sort them by alphabet, and you have the little things you can bubble in or put how many, and there's going to be a whole lot of like at the end of the alphabet cards, like a lot. So
it's true. So the examples here are Plundering Barbarian, 2 and a red. It's a common dwarf barbarian. It's a 2/2. When Plundering Barbarian enters the battlefield, choose 1. Smash the chest. That's the ability flavor, the flavor word rather. And then what it does, destroy target artifact. Oh, because he's plundering, smash the chest. I get it. And the other option is pry it open, which is create a treasure token. And
he's the barbarian.
Yeah, if it said destroy target artifact or create a treasure token, you'd be like, okay, why would
you
he
kind of get it from the name, plundering barbarian?
Yeah.
But like, why would he, if he's plundering something, why would he break it? That doesn't make any sense. But no, he's smashing the chest that it's in. Oh. Yeah, and something that Panahinuva pointed out a few days ago is that this set very much goes to the Chewy School of Magic. You guys remember we did our own Schools of Magic a few weeks ago or months ago or however long ago that was. I have no concept of the passage of time. There are so many options in this set because more options is more better. But yeah, so Plundering Barbarian, again, it just makes it more obvious about what's going on. It's like, somebody read the next one. Brian, you're the DM.
You see a guard approach. Quickly, I want everyone to roll stealth checks. So you see a guard approach is the card name. They're also going to be plenty long too. For a single blue, the cost is much shorter than the name. It's an instant. It's common. You choose one. Distract the guard, tap target creature, or hide. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. The flavor text is, looks like we've got company. And if you notice on a lot of these cards, I'm just gonna call them the you do something cards. Um, you see party members, and I think on a lot of them, there's some that are kind of like they look like they're debating the choice. There's some that are ready to hide, and there's some that are looking like they're going to do something else. I think it's a little more obvious on some of the other cards, but be watching for that sort of thing.
Huh, neat.
So, but then in the app, from a mechanical standpoint, single blue, either tap target creature or instant speed hexproof. So essentially counter a spell that would target your guy, basically. So
Yeah.
utility. Yeah, I like it. And it common.
Yeah. And it's very flavorful. And you, because of the flavor words, you know exactly what's going on. It's adorable.
Yeah. Because again, without the flavor, you'd be like, sure, okay.
Yeah, choose one. Tap target creature or target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. You'd be like, all right. Which is, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't change the card from a Melvin standpoint, but from a Vorthos standpoint, it adds so much.
Yeah. So this being a theme for the set is great.
Yeah.
I gotta ask how people feel about the next mechanic, because I'm gonna be upfront. I don't have a problem with it. I could see people being divided on it because some people have a thing about introducing other physical elements to their card game. Well, I'm not a huge fan of coin flipping myself, but that's because when I try to flip a coin, it invariably ends up across the room. I just can't do it very well. So, but I'm wondering if people have a response to this one. Like, I don't know. What do we think? What is the next one?
The next one is roll a d20.
Yeah.
Which is very, very D&D.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they decided to go there.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just because, I think it was because, dice rolling was so solidly in my head as an thing.
Oh, that's right. See, I never played the first, any unset really.
Although, wasn't that always like D6s?
Six-sided dice, yeah.
Yeah.
The only silver bordered card that used the D20 was the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons.
Fitting. And notice that a lot of these, I'm not sure if it's all of them or just a lot of them, but they also have the flavor words as well to describe basically what the effect is when you roll the D20.
Yeah, like the Lightfoot Rogue. Someone read the Lightfoot Rogue. Hey, Dirk, it's been a minute since you read a card.
There you go. Lightfoot Rogue. For 1 and a black, it's a 2/1 halfling rogue. That's uncommon. Says it has keyword sneak attack. Whenever Lightfoot
flavor
Rogue
word.
attacks,
Sneak attack.
flavor word, sorry. Sneak attack. Roll a d20. On results 1 through 9, Lightfoot Rogue gains Death Touch until end of turn. On results 10 through 19, it gets +1/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. On critical, which is a 20, it gets +3/+0 and gains First Strike and Death Touch until end of turn.
That is definitely a crit.
Yeah. So one of the things that I like that they've done here, and they put up an article talking about this mechanic today, called Quest for the I think it means 20-sided something. But they said here they had 2 rules for this for this mechanic, and one was they disliked coin flip cards that would completely screw the caster. He wanted to avoid spending mana and a card on a spell only for it to do absolutely nothing and set you behind or worse, hurt you. So they didn't want the mechanic to be a feel bad.
Hey, that's what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And then,
Good job, Mike.
Second of all, and this is kind of key to and key to how this sort of thing works. The variance in the ability effects shouldn't completely change the outcome of your spell. If the job of a spell is to gain life, it should gain you life. If the job is to create a token, it should create a token. For example, we wanted to avoid something like a 2 damage burn spell that would upgrade to a 4 damage burn spell. Targeting a 4 toughness creature only for the spell to low roll and put you out of luck seemed like too harsh of a penalty with no reward. So, and you notice again here, each of these, when you attack with this, it's going to have death touch. So you can count on that every single time. So it still rewards you if you happen to roll well, but it's not like roll 1 through 9. It gains shadow or something completely different, you know? So
Well, they also could have printed it to where it was a 2/1 with death touch and there was no effect on 1 through 9, but that just feels bad.
Right.
For no mechanical difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess this way, it only has death touch when it attacks.
That's true. It doesn't have death touch on defense.
Yes.
That is a big difference, actually. Good call.
But I think you could still word it that way, but then it starts to get really wordy. Like, look how much real estate this takes. It takes a lot of space.
It is a lot, yeah.
So, yeah. This card itself, do we like it? I mean, for a 2-drop, seems like it really... It's one you drop down and you're just aggro with it, and it has the potential to go to town. So, it's going to trade with something potentially a lot bigger. And every time, okay, you play against it, and you're like, all right, I'm going to think about blocking with this and this. At least you get to know what the result is before you assign blockers, but you really don't know, am I set up well enough for this? So
yeah, and there are going to be plenty of times where rolling the crit on any of these roll a d20 creatures or cards with a crit ability, it's going to have the same effect as in D&D. You're going to go, yes!
Yeah.
And there are times where rolling 20 on a Lightfoot Rogue is going to absolutely win you the game.
So this is the last mechanic, right?
Yeah.
I have to ask you.
There's
what?
one more that for some reason they haven't put here, but I thought they've previewed cards for it.
Okay. Are you talking about the one that's mostly in red?
The attacking with stuff one.
Yeah. Well, what that kind of fits into the flavor word, except that this is one where it does work basic. Well, what I was going to say is they did preview a card today that is a roll a d20 card, and it's a mythic, and I didn't know if we wanted to hit that one first because I think we definitely need to cover it.
Is it in the article on the Mothership?
It is an article on the Mothership, and it is now dropped into the Discord. And the preview is a little ways down. Julie, I'm assuming you haven't read it, so just go ahead and pull it up and start reading.
Is this the deck?
Yes. Have you seen the deck?
Oh, yeah, I've seen the deck. Where the hell?
Okay.
And again, this is why the Magic website is crap. What? Oh, no, it's right here. Never mind, I found it.
Dark, have you read this yet?
I have not.
Then you should read
Derek, read this card.
I'm looking for a hot take.
All right. So, Deck of Many Things for 5 mana. It's a legendary artifact that's mythic. 2 and tap. Target, roll a d20 and subtract the number of cards in your hand. If the result is 0 or less, discard your hand. Oh, wow.
So that will actually affect the next couple of abilities, right? So that is how you get your result. So
Okay. So for 1 through 9, return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand.
That's cool. Okay. Considering you might have just discarded something from your hand that you wanted to play.
Yep.
Or if something got killed and you can potentially get it back. All right, 10 through 19. Draw 2 cards.
Also good, considering you might have just at some point earlier discarded your hand. This is good.
Mm-hmm. And then on a 20, put a creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield.
No.
Read it again.
Start again. Yep.
Oh, from any graveyard.
Yes.
Put a creature card from any graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Then when that creature dies, its owner loses the game.
Yeah, so maybe don't do yours. I mean, you could, but now keep in mind, you can only crit if you have no cards in your hand. So you have to kind of commit.
Yeah, on a 20, the only way you can do that is if you have no cards in hand.
You have no cards in hand, yeah.
And you have to roll the 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, this card popped up in the Discord earlier, and I was like, okay, this is really freaking confusing. All right, just got to subtract the card. All right, you might have to discard. That sucks. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. And loses the game. Wait, what? And I read it again.
Yeah.
I went, put a creature card in a graveyard or battlefield on your control. When that creature dies, the owner loses the game. There's no way that card says what that card says. I read it again. I went, it does say that.
Yeah. So in the game, this is a deck of cards that if your party comes across it, you can choose to draw a couple at a time, although you have to say, I'm drawing X amount of cards. And they can be anything from like, you get a magic sword to you get the wish spell, which is ridiculous, to an avatar of death appears before you and, tries to kill you, to your soul is now trapped in another dimension. Good job. So, yeah. High risk, potential high reward. But so there were literally they could have made this be basically anything. I love the fact that you've got a decent chance of paying 2 and tapping this and drawing 2 cards. That is, I mean, the crit is literally amazing. It reminds me of that game where I used Faceless Butcher to take Chewie's Phage because I know you don't love it, but here's the thing. So I get Chewie's creature from his graveyard. I get his Nether Shadow. Woo! And on the one hand, now Chewie is like, got to keep Brian alive because if something happens to Brian and something happens to the Nether Shadow, I'm just dead. But so that is amazing, but I'm looking forward to basically tapping this and paying 2 to draw 2 cards. That is some ridiculous economy right there.
I'm pretty sure that if you died, then the leaves the battlefield trigger wouldn't happen. And
I'm assuming I have a sack outlet in this situation.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I think at the time we didn't understand that detail about the rules.
I'm just using that as an example. So
yeah.
So Mike, were you referring to it's being slow to load? It's
so
mostly
Mike, did you have anything to say about the deck of many things since Brian sort of just jumped away from it?
I did.
It's cool. Like, I don't think that last one is too wild because you have to have an empty hand and hit your 5% chance at that one result. But the rest of it, the other 2 abilities, awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
Dirk, what do you think? Now that you've read it and your mind has wrapped around it.
Deep down, I really like it because it does have a lot of pros to it. I mean, there's really not a major drawback to this card.
No.
I mean, except for the
I
hand
mean-
discarding,
Yeah.
which is
But
not
you
small.
wouldn't want to activate this card unless you were pretty. I mean, you wouldn't want to roll
well-
it if you've got 7 cards in your hand.
No, but there may be a situation where you're like, all right, I've got 3 cards in hand, I'm set, and you roll the D&D vernacular is nat 1 or natural 1. You roll a 1, well, that's -2, and you're kind of screwed. So,
But I mean, at that point, like you play the game, you take your chances.
yeah, Dirk is saying, you know what you signed up for. Suck it up.
Yeah, like there's always odds that you will not get what you wanted out of it.
Yeah.
There's a card in this commander deck list in the article in the other section called Barbarian Class.
Oh, man. Mike here. Wow, you.
Brian really is having trouble wordsing today.
I am impressed
That'll
by.
be interesting to learn about later.
Yeah, they'll probably tell us about these class cards tomorrow, just because we're doing the show tonight, because they're bastards.
Oh, so all right. The reason I was stumbling over words is I was trying to find a way to articulate that Mike was really being, on top of things with looking through all these cards. And I look and I see, oh, it's under the other category.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm still impressed. It's one of those things where I got so caught up in the deck of many things. I go down, I'm like, oh, cool, they built a deck, and I kept scrolling. And then they had another section about cards they thought would represent some of the cards in the actual deck of many things. And I'm like, okay, cool. I kept scrolling. So that is Mike paying attention, and I am impressed. So if we are done with the deck, Mike, were you asking about pack tactics?
Yes, pack
Okay.
tactics.
What is pack tactics?
Pack tactics
It's
is
a hunter secret.
Yeah.
It is.
It's also
Hearthstone
an
joke.
ability word that I thought I also saw it on a black card, but maybe not. Who knows?
I think there's one on a green card.
Yeah, that shows up on red and green cards that we're aware of so far.
Right.
That signifies an ability that does something when you attack with creatures with total power of 6 or more. So, for example, there's a Battlecry Goblin. For 1 and a red, it's an uncommon goblin, no job. It's a 2/2. Its first ability is pay 1 and a red. Goblins you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn.
Oh.
Cool. Its Pack Tactics ability says, whenever Battlecry Goblin attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attack.
Huh.
It's speaking of Hearthstone jokes, this is a Battlecry Goblin that Chewy doesn't have a battle cry. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, when you said Battlecry Goblin, I almost went, okay, what's the name? But I stopped myself before I sounded like an idiot.
And as written, these Pack Tactics creatures count their own power. So Battlecry Goblin just straight up contributes 2 to the count. Hobgoblin Captain is a 3/1, so it contributes, he's half the show right there.
And if you activate the Battlecry Goblin with the Hobgoblin Captain, you're golden.
You got it.
Minion of the Mighty contributes nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, he's cute, though.
Yeah. But he's one that, he's a 0/1 for a single red. He's rare. He's a kobold. With Menace, at least, so he can attack and maybe not die. Pack Tactics, if you win, and of course, the creature has to attack as well. It's not just attack with 6 power or more. This guy's got to get in there, too. With this guy, if you satisfy it, you may put a dragging creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Could this guy go in your stupid angel face I don't like deck?
Yes.
All right. What's her name?
Kalia the Vast.
Thank you. Okay. I'm sticking with stupid angel face I don't like.
I agree, yeah.
That's
She
fair.
kicks me in the teeth. Well, what did the hobgoblin do? Just since we
Oh, the Hobgoblin, for 1 and a red, it's a 3/1 who gets first strike with the Pack Tactics bonus.
not bad. I mean, he's a common,
You can
so
do it.
yeah.
3/1 with first strike for 2 mana. That's good stuff.
So how we have covered the mechanics, including the one that hasn't made it into the mechanics article yet. How do we want to approach these cards? You want to just pick out ones that look nifty to you? Should we look for mythics in particular?
Let's find the planeswalkers.
Okay.
Like we have
Which is
in red Zariel, Archduke of Avernus. Now, these are characters from D&D. I don't know any of these characters, so I'm just going to skip over that and let my co-hosts handle that if they care. For 2 red, it's a legendary planeswalker Zariel. Zariel? One of those. Starts with 4 loyalty. The +1 is creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. Nice. The middle ability is 0 loyalty. Create a 1/1 red devil creature token with, when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. Nice. And then her limit break is -6. You get an emblem. Oh god, here we go again. With, at the end of the first combat phase on your turn, untap target creature you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Oh.
That's neat.
That is
notice that you can get multiples of this emblem. I mean, it would take you a long time and or shenanigans, but each emblem would give you an additional. It would still only trigger once on your turn, but each one would trigger and each one would give you an additional combat phase. You'd still only tap the creature once, but anyway. So my understanding is, from a flavor perspective, that some of the deities of the lore are actually represented as planeswalker cards, and they had some discussion about that, and they're like, well, technically these aren't planeswalkers, but they also said, we're doing a D&D set. We would love to see what these look like as planeswalkers. So they weren't really concerned with mechanically, oh, this isn't necessarily this thing. They are taking the Magic the Gathering rules and applying it to the setting. So, and they thought that they wanted to see planeswalkers in the set, and they thought some of the deities would make that really interesting. Avernus is the first of the there's a realm called the Nine Hells. You don't want to go there. It's bad. And Avernus is one of them, and each one is ruled by an archduke or some minion of the biggest, baddest archduke of them all, Asmodeus, who is the Archduke of Nessus. So this is a bad guy. I don't know if you could tell. This is a bad guy.
I sort of had the feeling, yeah.
Maybe a little bit. From the fire and, making devils.
So, there's another planeswalker in green. There's one in black.
Yeah. I don't know that we've seen one in blue or white.
I'm not seeing one in blue. Scroll.
Not that I recall.
Not seeing one in white. Okay, so I guess we should go with the usual and say, hey, Dark, read the green one.
You guys know me so well.
Right?
Eliwick. Tumblestrum.
Oh, get it?
Looks good.
Because she's a bard, so she's strumming on her...
Eliwick Tumblestrum. So
Tumblestrum? Oh my god, she's a horny bard. Sorry, keep going.
Oh my. Alright, so for 2 and 2 green, so a total of 4. She comes in with a loyalty of 4. First ability is a +1. Venture into the dungeon. So you automatically get to go and do some dungeoning.
Interesting.
Second ability is -2. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
6 is a lot.
Now, hopefully you can find something good among those. I don't know if it'll be legendary, but hopefully something good. And then the last ability is a -7. Chewie's favorite. You get an emblem.
Yay!
With creatures you control have trample and haste and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed.
There you go, Brian.
There, yeah. I
One
think
that
may have
actually
been-
sort of cares.
Yeah. I mean, even if you've only completed the one, which she helps you get there with her first ability, you know, a +2/+2 and trample for all of your guys forever,
And haste.
And haste.
and haste.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Yeah. And again, for that second ability, 6 is a lot. Like if you're not hitting a creature in 6, then and you're needing a creature, like this wasn't gonna get, like nothing was gonna help you anyway. 6 is a lot of cards. That's a deep dig. So yeah.
Oh, Pinball pointed out if you haven't finished the dungeon, you still get the haste and trample. That's right.
Also true.
Which did not occur to me at all. But yeah, Eliwick is adorable.
Yeah.
And I'm digging the happy frog.
I think she is an original character created for this set. I think I read that somewhere.
Is that a mole? I see some rabbits and some fairies and probably squirrels, and I think that's a mole. Huh. How adorable. I'm going to throw up. That is a mole.
Last Planeswalker?
Oh, okay. I have to take this one because they threw it at me, and I went, oh!
Because spiders?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is laugh out loud the hell. I mean, Lolth Spider Queen. For 3 black is a legendary planeswalker Lolth. Starts with 4 loyalty, but there's a static ability here. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on Lolth Spider Queen. And I have to tell you, that's sick.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Now, which I guess that's good because Lolth does not have a way to make her own loyalty counters otherwise, because her first ability is a 0. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. Sold! Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I love this card. Thank you. I don't care if she's a Spider Queen. I don't want to like marry her and hang out with her, but I would put her in a deck. -3. Create 2/1 black spider creature tokens with menace, of course, and reach.
Means we're gonna get tokens with art for these. I'm sure you can't wait to check them
Yeah,
out.
just dying, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Again, planeswalkers that defend themselves. And then the limit break is -8. You get an emblem with whenever an opponent is dealt combat damage by 1 or more creatures you control, if that player lost less than 8 life this turn, they lose life equal to the difference. Which means that now they're always taking 8 if they take any.
Yeah, from like a 1/1 or
Yeah, you're like, I have this little 1/1 unblockable, poke, and then spiders jump out and smash them for 7 more.
yeah, basically. It's kind of insane that with the right setup, you can play her, sack a bunch of stuff, and pop this off immediately. Do I think it's going to happen all the time? No. But the fact that it can happen without, like, insane, crazy setup.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. And terrifying, but also neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the wait. Were there any in gold?
She is the spider goddess, and she's the goddess of dark elves.
Buh.
Yeah.
The
No,
answer is no.
there were no in gold. No.
Okay.
But we did have Tiamat in gold.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Tiamat is the goddess of evil dragons. She's the opposite of Bahamut, who we haven't seen yet, but I'm curious if he, upgrades your classes. So Tiamat for 2 and a Wooburg is a 7/7 legendary dragon god. She has flying because duh. And when Tiamat enters the battlefield, if you cast it, search your library for up to 5 dragon cards not named Tiamat that each have different names, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle.
That is not a small number of dragon cards.
It is not.
Mm-hmm.
And you've still got a 7/7 with flying, too.
Her children will rule over all. It's true.
Yeah.
Buh.
Yeah.
Dragon.
Yeah. Anybody that, hey, do you like dragons? Have you been wanting a dragon commander for all your dragons and you couldn't decide on a color, or you just want to run them all? We have the most obvious dragon in dragons for you, because dragons.
Because dragons.
I like her. I think she's neat, but would I ever want to do say a story circle with her? No, because what should you do with her? I don't know. Salamanders. Wait. No. Sorry, Dirk.
Man,
Maybe someday.
always being left out in the cold.
Wait, Shifuji said Tiamat is called Queen of Dragons only in Final Fantasy, right?
No,
I don't think so.
No, she's kind of the counterpart to Bahamut. She is the queen of evil dragons. Each one of her heads represents one of the colors of evil chromatic dragons, and she's currently stuck in one of the 9 hells. I want to say Avernus. I think she can create avatar forms elsewhere, but I think she's stuck there. So if anybody says, "Hey, hail Tiamat," you should be like, "Uh-oh," and probably walk the other way.
So chat wanted us to read Volo, I think.
Okay, what's a Volo?
Volo is a trip.
I haven't seen this one yet, but
Well,
I
you
just
already
read a
read
card.
it.
I did just read a card, so it's Simic colors. Look at that.
Does that mean I get to read it?
Yeah, why not?
All right, Volo Guide to Monsters for 2 green blue. He's a 3/2. He's a human wizard that's rare. And he says, whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard,
Sorry, keep going. Just
copy that spell.
huh.
Yeah. They've made Menagerie a thing in Magic.
Okay, now the last card I said, I'm like, oh, gee, I guess I don't know what to do. This is really fascinating. That is really fascinating.
Yeah, so you want to have as few matching creature types anywhere that you can. And the fact that he's a human wizard is huge.
Yeah.
Because that crosses 2 off the list.
It crosses 2, insanely represented.
Yeah.
Dirk, you need to read the flavor text.
The beholder told me I had a good eye for details. Who was I to argue?
Beholders are giant eyes. So, yeah. Ha ha ha.
So
I thought it was funny.
Apparently Volo is the author of an actual book in D&D, Volo's Guide to Monsters. Is that right?
Yep.
I think so. And
It's on my shelf.
Nice.
there's a book also called Xanathar's Guide to, is it everything?
That's Tasha's.
No, Tasha's Guide to Everything.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
That's right. Xanathar had a
There's Guide to Everything. No, you were right. Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Volo's Guide of Monsters. Yep.
Okay. So, hey, Mike, what does Xanathar do?
Xanathar's pretty cool. Xanathar is a guild kingpin, so he's got those mad connections. For 4, a blue, and a black, it's a 5/6 legendary beholder. So, extremely evil, extremely dangerous. At least that's a good guess.
Yeah.
And it's mythic. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of their library anytime. You may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast spells this way.
Well, we should have had Brian read this one.
I got a real strong Send Triplets vibe from this. But, I mean, yeah, again, the Johnny senses are like, plus this is all about, hey, you've got a neat deck. It's mine now. From a flavor perspective, so there are a ton of evil races. I mean, we just talked about like literal devils, but beholders are always evil. They are always kind of racist because they look at everyone else as less themselves. But before you think they're like, yay, beholders all the time, they also hate each other. Because every beholder is slightly different or possibly majorly different in how its eye stalks are, what color it is, blah, blah, blah. And every other one looks at every other beholder as imperfect. And in fact, they probably hate other beholders more than they hate other races, and they hate other races a lot. So, yeah, they're bad. But this is an interesting card. I think I might like this card quite a bit. Hey, Dirk, your deck is fun. It's mine now. And you know, if you get multiple upkeeps, could you choose multiple players?
Yes.
I mean, you only have so much mana. It's not like a Mindslaver where I also get your lands. I'm still limited by my own mana, although I can spend mana as if it was mana of any color. But if I have 6 lands, that's what I've got to work with.
Unless the top card of their library is a land.
Chewy with the big brain. That's right.
I mean, it's not just that you get access to one of their cards and they can't cast spells. It says you may look at the top card of their library anytime, which means if you play the top card, there's a new top card that you can look at and potentially play.
Remember how
side on it.
Remember last week when we were talking about that the red enchantment that let you play cards off the top of your deck, and we're like, oh, that'll run out eventually, but not soon enough, it seems. So now this does not let you look at their hand.
Correct.
Because still interesting.
But it does render their hand completely worthless because they can't cast spells.
And it is a legendary beholder, and they are iconic. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Okay. So there was a card I saw earlier, and you know what? I just talked about a card, so I'm going to wait a little while. But there's a card I want to talk about. It's not in gold. So.
Okay. I don't think we can get through the first D&D episode without talking about the dark elf dude whose name I can't pronounce.
Drizzt.
Is that how you say that?
That's how I would say it.
Oh.
That's a T. I thought it was Drizzle. Okay. All right. Drizzt.
Okay.
Drizzt.
Duerden. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So Drizzt is one of the more famous characters from D&D because of all of the books. He had lots of books.
My knowledge that I've been talking about is basically based off of what I've read lore wise and like setting wise. I haven't read the books, so a specific character like this, I've heard of it, but I don't know anything. Apparently, he's got a cat. I have cats, but they're not like this cat.
That is true. Who wrote the Drizzt books? Was it Salvatore?
Sounds right.
Or R.A. Salvatore? I guess there's a...
Yes.
You pronounce the last letter of that, Salvatore? Or it might just be R.A. Salvatore? I don't know. But anyway... Is he Italian? I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Golden Girls, so like I want to put a Sicilian accent on everything now. By the way, everyone should watch Golden Girls all the time. I'm just saying.
Golden Girls, the magic set. Yeah.
I mean, I would consider buying that secret layer. So Drizzt Do'Urden for 3, a green and a white is rare, not mythic. A rare 3/3 legendary elf ranger with double strike because he has 2 swords. Get it? When Drizzt enters the battlefield, create a, I'm gonna say, Gwenwavar?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
That H there throws me off. But you create Gwenwavar, let's say, a legendary 4/1 green cat creature token with trample. Because Mao. And whenever a creature dies, if it had power greater than Drizzt's power, his power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Drizzt equal to the difference. I misread that the first time.
Well, and you know what it also doesn't say? Creature you control.
That it doesn't
I
say.
missed the first time. Yeah. Gosh.
So, like, if your 4/1 cat with trample dies, which it will because it's got 1 health, then yeah, Drizzt's gonna get a token or a counter rather.
I mean, he's already a 3/3 with double strike that gets you a 4/1. So I would say it's 7 points of power, but there's double strike, so the math gets weird.
Yeah.
But he's already a 3/3 with a 4/1 that is begging to block and die. And then he becomes a 4/4 with double strike or bigger.
Yeah, like
you know how big a creature with double strike has to be before I consider it a real problem?
like 2.
A two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he
Yeah,
costs
a
5.
2/1 with double strike is enough to make me go.
He costs 5, so that's a thing, you know.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
You get a lot for 5.
That is a
Yeah.
lot for 5. Penball says he levels up from kill or from tragic backstory. I don't know what is the deal with Drizzt, because I've actually never read any of the books or anything. I'm just aware of the character through nerd culture osmosis. So why does Drizzt get bigger?
Because he's a badass.
Oh, okay.
Again, I don't really know. I know of the character, but I don't know his story. So,
Dirk, do you know any of these questions?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, you know what? I can't wait anymore.
Okay, go.
I want to talk about one of the most interesting mill cards I have seen in a long time. And I have had a love-hate relationship with mill cards ever since Glimpse the Unthinkable. But this is really interesting. It's in blue, obviously. This is Tasha's Hideous Laughter, which is the name of an iconic spell.
That is a great name of a spell.
Yeah. That's a name a wizard can learn. Possibly other classes too. I don't have the rulebook in front of me, so don't blame me. But listen to this card. For 1 and 2 blue, it's a sorcery. It's rare. Each opponent. So great in multiplayer. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with total mana value 20 or more.
Oh, yeah, I read this card. This one showed up a long time ago.
That is insane. I mean, against a commander deck, you're probably going to get there in like 3 cards, but depending on the deck.
But
But
like, if you
okay,
assume some sort of 3 to 4 average mana cost, you're getting 6 or 7 cards, plus all the lands
plus all the lands. The
that
lands
are
are
in between
free
them.
hits.
Mhm.
Yeah. Question, because every time I try to figure out constructed formats, I'm usually like, oh, look at that. Idyllic Tutor is amazing. Now it turns out it's actually pretty good, but I was not correct at the time. What is the average cost of spells in Legacy? Is it like a half?
Depends on whether you're playing a fair deck or a combo deck. If you're playing a fair deck, you're going to see a lot of 1s and 2s.
Yeah,
If you're
that's what
playing
I'm
a combo
thinking.
deck, then inevitably you're going to
Okay.
run into a 10 or a 15.
Yeah, so for against a deck that's
Yeah.
not show and tell.
Yeah.
And isn't there a deck that's basically all lands?
Full set of 10 or
So-
a 15.
Yeah, I mean, it has like whatever the heck it is, and that other spell. But yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
I could see milling a huge chunk. Now I know in Legacy you could mill away, 3/4 of their deck, and they could still be like, and you're dead. So I get it, but I don't know. I see a card like this, and I just see potential because 20. I know we say, oh, that's a big number, but 20 is a huge number.
It might even be huge.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I talked about that. I know we have more cards here than we are probably going to reach today.
Well, yeah.
But I couldn't not mention, and it was also one of the ones that was revealed a while ago. So
Oh, and right next to it is You Come to a River. And ALK Altars did an awesome altar that was from Oregon Trail of this, and it just made me so happy.
man, that's great. I don't even see it, and I can see it in my mind.
Hang on, we're gonna go look it up real quick. Go to Twitter, search ALK. No, it's Altars ALK. Oh, there he is. It's Altars ALK on Twitter. Everyone should go follow him. Although most of you probably do already. Dude, oh, here's You Happen on a Glade. That is a similar look. That's adorable. But where is it, damn it? Oh, there it is. You come to a river. Choose one. Ford the river or find a crossing. And the actual card is what? Fight the current or find a crossing. So he changed the flavor word, but that doesn't matter. Because the flavor word is just flavor. So if the flavor of the card changes, you should change that too. But
Good point.
yeah, here since in case you guys aren't looking at the chat, there you go. Or at the stream rather. Isn't that great?
Actually was, yeah.
That's great.
All right, so Pinball requests that we read Critical Hit in
Okay.
red.
I don't see it in red.
It is not here, Pinball.
It's not here yet.
Yeah, we'll have to hit that
I
next
think I
week.
saw it on Facebook while I was eating lunch.
No. Mike, while we're in red, did you see Wish?
Brian said, nah.
I did wish.
Wish is interesting.
Yeah, so it's representing like the 9th level spell in Dungeons and Dragons, which its basic purpose is to you just get the effect of any 8th level or lower spell right now. It has some other very, very powerful effects, but those will start to wear on you after a while. Here in Magic is represented by a sorcery that's rare, that costs 2 and a red. You may play a card you own from outside the game this turn.
Whew!
So it's a really cool connection to the Wish spell in D&D that it's referencing, but also the tradition of wishes in Magic itself.
Right. Yeah. I saw this card and it just tripped me out how well it blended the two. So, and it has the restriction of, okay, you're already paying 3 for this, so anything you play has to cost that much more.
Yeah, and unlike the other wishes from Magic, this isn't put it in your hand. It's you may play it this turn.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You got to go for it. Yeah.
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 So I really like the way that this is worded. I don't know anything about the D&D wish, obviously, so that part is over my head. But hey,
like ninth level is the highest level of spell you can feasibly cast. So it's like you've been playing this game for 3 years, kind of thing. So,
okay,
while
we have critical hit.
okay,
So here it is on Scryfall. Critical hit for 1 in a red. It's an uncommon instant. You wanted us to read an uncommon instant. Okay. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then when you roll a natural 20, return critical hit from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, I get it now. So anytime you roll a nat 20 on anything, you crit.
you crit. Yeah. How do you kill what's already dead? That's how.
Yeah,
I'm guessing he's chopping zombies, probably.
I don't know, but that's really cool.
Yeah, the head's just gone. The head has left the frame a long time ago.
Well, it was a crit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably, a lot of damage.
So yeah, that's yeah, I like it. Because since a lot of the rolling things seem to come from when something attacks, that's also nice.
Going back to Wish, I don't have anything else to say about the card except that I really love that it exists. But on this row, we have you find some prisoners. And I just want to point out in the art before we even go into what the spell does, that this is exactly what I was talking about with these two party members that are basically discussing these two options. So you find some prisoners for 1 in a red. It's an instant. It's uncommon. Choose one. Break their chains. Destroy target artifact. Or interrogate them. Exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. Choose one of them until the end of your turn. You may play that card. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So these
you want to read that again?
Exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card.
The end of your next turn. You didn't say that.
Sorry about that.
Which is a massive difference than the end of your turn or the end of your next turn. That's huge.
Yeah, it is, and I apologize. But so here you have the people talking, and they're discussing whether to. They've come across prisoners, and the one is like, "We should let them go," and the other one is like, "We should interrogate them." And I'm like, harsh. I mean, I get players have choices, but. Whew.
But seriously though, this is a very good card. It's a shatter that also has something very, very different and very, very useful on it if there's nothing to target with the shatter part.
Yeah.
Because more options is more better.
More options is more better.
Like, I think this is a card that's going to be played for real for a long time.
Oh, and all 3 of those cards stay exiled. I'm not saying you're ever going to mill them with this card, but for 1 in a red, you're exiling the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. They don't go the graveyard. Except, I guess, when you play the 1, in theory, if it's like a sorcerer instant. But that's just trippy.
Yeah. I like it. And yeah, the first of these you do a thing spells I saw was you see a pair of goblins. Which is like, once I saw that, I went, what a stupid ass name for a card. Why is it called? Oh, D&D, I get it. You see a pair of goblins. Okay. And then I read the card, I went, so for 2 in a red, it's an instant uncommon. Choose one. Charge them. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Or befriend them. Create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Oh, it's so cute.
Because you see a pair of goblins, and now I kind of want to see 2 goblin tokens, and each one has the face of one of these guys.
But yeah, like I said, that's the first of these flavorful modal spells that I saw, and I was like, "Oh my god, these are brilliant!" Okay, chat wants us to read Flame Skull too. Oh my god, have you guys seen Flame Skull?
I have. That is insane.
So, for 1 red, it's a 3/1 flying skeleton that can't block, and it's mythic.
Whole skeleton. It's just, part of a skeleton, but okay.
Right? Well, I guess creature type skull was a little silly.
Yes.
But it has the ability Rejuvenation. When Flame Skull dies, exile it. If you do, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play one of those cards. And then the reminder text is, if you cast Flame Skull this way, you can't play the other card, and vice versa.
Yeah. This is a neat card. I really like it.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Because it's, I mean, let's face it, in Limited, it's a win condition by itself.
Yeah.
And because a 3/1, a 3-power flyer that you can't kill permanently, it's good. But then it's a mythic, so let's not count on that. But the rest of the ability of either being able to recur it or get something else out of the deal is just awesome. The more options, you finish it. So yeah, it's a fascinating little niche of card design too.
Yeah.
Ow. Dirk, what you got? You haven't thrown much out for us.
Saw there was a dragon.
There,
Yep.
To it.
in the Dungeons and Dragons set.
Yeah, I know. Ebon Death in black.
This Draco. Yeah. This.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So for 2 and 2 black, total of 4, it's a zombie dragon that's legendary and is mythic and is a 5/2. It has flash. It
What?
has flying.
What?
It has enters the battlefield tapped.
Oh.
What?
And you may cast Ebon Death Dracolich from your graveyard if a creature not named Ebon Death Dracolich died this turn.
I really liked that they set it up so you can't just get 2 of them and do a loop.
Or just cast it right after it dies.
Or just cast it right after it dies. That's even
Yeah.
easier. Yeah, shut up, Chewie.
Yeah.
And Pinball Witch threw 50 bits and said, "What?"
It's nice that it doesn't have to be a dragon that dies as well. Because I believe in the lore, correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody knows what a lich is. Everybody knows what a dragon is. This is kind of the intersection of those. But if a Draco Lich's body dies, if the phylactery remains intact, the spirit then possesses the nearest dragon corpse and basically built itself a new body out of that. So,
Oh, Ben's asking the real questions. Is a Draco Lich cooler than a vampire dragon?
I mean, I like zombies, but I'm gonna have to still go with dragon vampire, because it's close, but very, very subjective answer to your question. Just for me, nah, it's still gonna be the vampire.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, you're right.
even Chewy, you've never played Dungeons and Dragons.
Indeed.
You've heard of a gelatinous cube, though.
Oh yeah. You can't
because everybody
not have heard of a gelatinous cube at this point.
Yeah, it's the Jello of death.
Hearthstone has done a couple of neat, or at least one off the top of my head, neat Warcrafty flavors of gelatinous cube, but not one that actually kills things. But yeah, this thing is nuts.
So, gelatinous cube for 2 and 2 black. It's a ooze. It's rare, and it's a 4/3. Huh. Just had a thought about something. Engulf. When gelatinous cube enters the battlefield, exile target non-ooze creature an opponent controls until gelatinous cube leaves the battlefield. It sucks it up. Dissolve. For X and a black, put target creature card with mana value X exiled with gelatinous cube into its owner's graveyard.
It eats your opponent's creature. I love it.
It eats it so that they don't get it back if the cube ever dies.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cause
Really
cool. As Ben said, it's a super faceless butcher. Because the problem with faceless butcher, without stupid timing shenanigans, is they were always gonna get back whatever you snatched.
Yeah.
But with this, you have the option to eat it.
Yeah. Which over time, anything in a gelatinous cube is broken down. So yeah.
I love it.
And I know we've got other stuff to talk about, but how edgy, super edgelord is Grim Wanderer?
I was just about to point that out. The Grim Wanderer, for 1 and a black, is an uncoblin. It's between.
Is that going to be our new thing? An uncommon warlock?
Okay, let's try an uncommon. There we go. Goblin warlock. For 2 mana, it's a 5/3. Let me say that again. For 2 mana, it's a 5/3 with flash. But it has a tragic backstory, and you can cast the spell only if a creature died this turn.
That's fun.
I'm so edgy. Look at me. Everybody else is in the bar and they're just like drinking, and you have all these earth tones, and he's like, I am black and my clothes are tattered. Would you like to hear my tale? And the DM is like, please, not another one of these.
And the flavor text is, there is a stillness that walks with him, the quiet that follows great tragedy, when even the mourners are too exhausted to weep. Edgelord! My dead family! Is he the how it should have ended? No, wait. What is HIS? What is that?
How it should
have ended. Yeah.
How it should have ended. Oh, okay. Is he the how it should have ended Batman? Yes, he is.
He also. I'm sorry, but who else saw this and immediately thought of Diablo 2? I mean, thank you.
Wait, why?
Because there's a guy called the Dark Wanderer that looks like this. That spoiler alert for a 20-year-old game, if not more, is the hero from the first Diablo that is slowly being transformed into Diablo, and everywhere he goes, people die. So this is like what he looks like. It's like people are like, oh, hello, stranger, and he's like, everybody die, and they move to the next town. So,
I having never played Diablo 2, I would have missed that entirely. That's cool.
Just the first thing that literally popped into my head. Chewy, Mike, you also kind of got that thing, that vibe.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike's like,
Hey,
Hey.
Dirk.
Yep.
Did you see Devour Intellect?
Ah!
Yeah,
What the hell?
that sounds rather familiar, doesn't it?
I
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get to in this. Yeah.
For Chewie's benefit, that's a monster called an intellect devourer.
It's a brain with legs.
I was saying it's a brain with hands and feet. Like, what?
Oh, it looks cute, right? Let Dirk tell us what the card does, and then we'll spend a minute on this.
So for 1 black, it's a common sorcery. Target opponent discards a card. If mana from a treasure was spent to cast this spell, instead that player reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, then that player discards that card.
Okay.
And the flavor text.
I'll know what you know soon enough.
You know what's about to happen, right?
I'm assuming that some intellect is about to be devoured.
That brain is going to teleport into that man's skull
Ah!
and take it over. Yeah. So the reason I laughed when I saw this is because in the campaign that I'm running for these guys, they killed a guy who was bad, and what they didn't know was that he was basically a puppet for one of these things. And as soon as the host dies, the intellect devourer teleports out very close to the body, and the players that knew what it was when I showed them the mini were immediately like, really? Because these things have an ability to insta kill anything with a low intelligence and then pop into their head and take them over. And the character is dead, and it's now a brain. And in the story, this was an intellect devourer that was basically being used as a spy. So I saw this, and I'm like, I know at least 2 people that will recognize this. I haven't shown the card to Sam yet, but that thing is getting ready to eat its brain and then take its place. So just think about that tonight. And then yeah, it's a pretty standard 1 mana discard spell. That if you use a treasure, it's what? It's what's the
Coercion.
well, I was gonna say the other one, but no, yeah,
Well, it has to
coercion
be-
work.
It has to be a non-land. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
Yeah. So a little bit of lore there, and little walking brain. And discard.
Huh.
We haven't seen the Eye of Vecna or the Hand of Vecna yet, right?
I'm
No,
sorry.
just
What?
seen the book.
He's talking about the Book of Vile Darkness. The Book of Vile Darkness is referencing 2 other cards named Eye of Vecna and Hand of Vecna, which we have yet to see.
Oh.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of a Cauldra feel going on to it, except they'll all at least be in the same set. So what's the book do?
Yeah. What's the book do?
So the Book of Vile Darkness, for black, it's a mythic legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, if you lost 2 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token.
Hey.
Hey. Now that's the beginning of your end step, so if you get attacked during your opponent's turn, sorry, you don't get a zombie. But still, it's pretty cool. But the other ability is tap, exile the Book of Vile Darkness, and artifacts you control named Eye of Vecna and Hand of Vecna. And the effect is, you create Vecna, a legendary 8/8 black zombie god creature token with indestructible. It gains all triggered abilities of the exiled cards. So it will gain the ability, that first ability of the Book of Vile Darkness, plus whatever else is on the Eye and the Hand that we haven't seen yet.
Huh.
Vecna was a lich that managed to make himself into an actual god.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah. Some people are just never satisfied.
Oh, Pinball Witch pointed out Devour Intellect is doing Thoughtseize.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Right.
If you spend a treasure, it's a painless Thoughtseize. But
Mike is old school, so he went all the way back to Coercion.
He did. He did.
Isn't that from
Props to you.
Visions?
Yeah, originally. Visions of Mirage.
So
There's just a ridiculous... Oh, you know what? We should talk about the freaking lands.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, we don't spend much time on the variants. You guys should open the variant gallery, by the way. Because we just don't... Personally, I hate that, they're there to suck money out of people. But these lands variants are just too ridiculous. And they're...
They are very silly, but in an appealing way.
Yeah. So the regular lands, Cave of the Frost Dragon, Den of the Bugbear, what else? Dungeon Descent, Evolving Wilds. Oh, Evolving Wilds 2. Mm-hmm. Hall of the Storm Giants, and Hive of the Eye Tyrant.
Yeah, and there's a green one that we haven't seen yet.
Ah, okay.
Because there's no way they would skip out on the green member of a cycle like this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But, so, the colored ones... So Cave of the Frost Dragon is the white one, Den of the Bugbear is the red one, Hall of Storm Giants is the blue one, and Hive of the Eye Tyrant is the black one. And also, look at the art on Hive of the Eye Tyrant. You've got the beholder in the negative space there. That is completely insane. Who did this? Johannes Voss. That's insane.
Good for him.
They are not paying Johannes Voss enough, because holy crap. But
I saw that we were talking about the non variant.
Yeah, the regular version.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I saw that. I'm like, it took me a second. I'm like, that is fan-freaking-tastic.
But so each of those have, if you control 2 or more other lands, this enters the battlefield tapped. So they're fast lands, I guess.
I think that's what they're called, yeah. From Mirrored and Besieged, yeah.
And they tap for the whatever proper color of mana. But they also have an ability that turns them into a creature.
So they're fast lands, man lands.
Yeah, so they're flash lands. Hey! No.
That's something else.
Johnny Quick lands? We gotta come up... Max Mercury? That's too obscure. No one knows who the hell Max Mercury is. But anyway... Cave of the Frost Dragon for 4 and a white becomes a 3/4 white dragon with flying. Den of the Bugbear becomes a 3/2 goblin with, whenever this creature attacks, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. Hall of Storm Giants becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with ward 3. That is big for 5 and a blue. And then Hive of the Eye Tyrant becomes a 3/3 black beholder with menace, and whenever this creature attacks, exile target card from defending player's graveyard for 3 and a black. So I just wanted to get all that out of the way first, because what the cards actually do, for the purposes of this discussion, is somewhat irrelevant. Because what's really cool about these is the treatment that they got in the variants. The treatment looks like... What is this called? It says it on the card, a dungeon module. So...
Like an old school...
Yeah, Mike, you're old. An old hat D&D player. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike is muted.
I'm sorry. I was muted because I was having a little snack. Okay.
Was it tasty?
Yes, it was. It was a little peanut butter cup. It was delicious.
So what are these, Mike?
Yeah, so these are, back in the day, you could always get, and they still print them now, books with, adventures that are pre-written. They have maps, they have story beats, they have, monsters and dungeons and all kinds of great stuff. Pre-written adventures for you and your friends to play. And this is like the old style of what they used to look like back in the day, in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons days.
Yeah, so on screen right now is one that Pinball Witch sent us in as a link. The Dungeon Module SP1, and it's Hamlet by William Shakespeare. An adventure for characters levels 1 to 3. So, but this is just an example of what an old. Thank you, Pinball. What an old module looked like,
Mm-hmm.
and as you can tell, that's what these look like. It's a title up here, and then some art, and then a whole lot of text at the bottom, and then smaller text at the very bottom. Boom.
To be head or not to be head. That is, I love it.
Okay, sorry, Mike. Keep going. I wanted to throw that up there while you were talking about it.
Yeah, but that was it, basically. So they gave these lands names that could also be conceptually the name of an adventure, and so they have these module variants for them. And like I said, they are very silly, but in quite an appealing way.
I agree. Like, the first one of these I saw was a leak. It was Den of the Bugbear. They hadn't been revealed yet, and I was like, I don't know about this. And then somebody, it might have been Pinball, pointed out that if this is a different treatment, it's one they haven't shown yet. And usually when they show the variant treatments, they show them all at once. Mm-hmm. So this could be, sorry, Pinball, if that wasn't you. And I'm like, this could be just sort of like ALK's altar that we showed earlier of Oregon Trail. This could just be someone's really awesome digital altar, and then if like the next day or 2 days later or something, boom, they got revealed, and we were all like, wait, what? Like,
so it's 10:30.
It is,
and I'm gonna be the party pooper and say I think probably need to shut down. But
no
before
pooping.
we do, I want Dirk to read a green card.
Yeah, Dirk.
It's called the Tarrasque.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Tarrasque for 6 and 3 or 6 green. So a grand total of 9 mana. It's a 10/10 legendary dinosaur that's mythic. The Tarrasque has haste and ward 10 as long as it was cast. Whenever the Tarrasque attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls. When it rises, nations fall.
So yeah, if you cast this thing honestly, instead of reanimating it or putting it on the battlefield or whatever, it'll have haste, and it's just real hard to kill with spells because Ward 10 is not a small number. Look how tiny that 10 is, too.
Yeah.
And why is that? Does the Tarrasque have some sort of anti-magic thing?
Yeah, the Tarrasque was created by some exceptionally hateful wizard, purposefully to be an incredibly dangerous force of destruction.
In the base play, there's 3 basic books that kind of make up the pillars of the game. There's the player's handbook, the dungeon master's guide, and the monster manual. That's the word I'm looking for. And monsters are broken down by challenge rating or CR, and there's one monster that has a challenge rating of 30 in the book. Now there's other supplemental guides, blah blah, but in the base book there's one that's a CR of 30, which is insane, and it's the Tarrasque. So it's rumored there's only ever one, because if it ever dies, it will eventually reincarnate or something. But it wakes up, it destroys cities until somebody eventually kills it, but it always comes back.
Canadians said its hide negates all spells and often reflects them back at its caster. So that's why it's got ward instead of can't be targeted.
Oh, and it tends to eat you. Like, it has a devour attack. And should you survive, you will learn a new definition of pain and suffering as you're slowly digested for X amount of damage every round for 1,000 years.
But like outside of that, when it attacks, it just gets to fight something automatically.
Yeah.
So like the best blocker? No.
Yeah. And it's a 10/10, so it's going to kill anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, there is one more green creature that we have to do because we did the Tarask. We got to do the
Okay.
Froghemoth.
I haven't seen this card.
Oh, you should read the Froghemoth, Brian.
Okay. Froghemoth, obviously a mix of the words frog and behemoth. If this is a reference to a creature, I'm actually not familiar with it. For 3 and 2 green, it is a 4/4 frog horror. Of course it is. So 4/4 for 5 mana with trample and haste. Okay. That's really good. Whenever Froghemoth deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many target cards from their graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature card exiled this way. You gain 1 life for each non-creature card exiled this way. Huh. So it's a little bit like Scavenging Ooze. I want to say on steroids, except it's not like efficient like Scavenging Ooze, but it comes down and attacks immediately. Jeez. Again,
Canadian
I don't
says
know.
It's a D&D classic. It eats players and it gets wonky when hit with lightning. What?
I mean, probably. I have tried to educate myself, but I have also only been reading these books and playing this game for less, really off and on, than a year. So I've got a lot to learn. So chalk this one up to new for me, and I don't like the fact that it looks like its face is following me no matter which way I turn my head. Oh, thanks, guys. That's
It's the Ice
Can we look-
Dogs.
Can we look at spiders again, please?
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Ben, what have you done? Oh! Ben sent us a link to the Froghemoth monster manual page. Neat.
Cool. All right, we have plenty more to talk about
Oh yeah.
going into next week without even the fact that they're going to dump 50 new cards on us in the meantime. So
Or possibly the rest of the set. I don't know how they're doing previews for this set.
So the set is on Arena on July 8th, which is a week from today. So there's a real chance that it will be all up by then.
Yep. So let's call it there. I know we missed a lot of the good stuff, but that's because
We'll
there's
get there.
so much good stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. The flavor.
be sure you come back next week when we do the show live so you can be sure you point us in directions, because we talked about, I think, everything that chat pointed out.
You guys are always great, but there are weeks when chat is more content to just sit back and listen. There's times where chat gets super involved. This has been a very active chat.
Yeah.
So.
And we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's very, very good. So yeah, be here next time.
Oh. If the Froghemoth takes lightning damage, it suffers several effects until the end of its next turn. Speed is halved, a -2 penalty to AC, and dexterity saving throws. It can't use reactions or multi-attack, and on its turn, it can't use either an action or a bonus action. Oh, it can use either an action or a bonus action, not both.
That is a tremendous amount of stuff. Huh. Yeah. You know what happens to a Froghemoth when it gets hit by lightning?
All kinds of bad things.
All kinds of bad things. Like, it's not even close to what happens to other things,
Boo!
Although, to be fair, I do think video games have given us an unrealistic expectation for getting hit by lightning. When you're getting hit by lightning in a Final Fantasy game, you're probably okay. As long as it's not like Lightning 3, you're probably okay. You me, Brian, going outside gets hit by lightning, uh, I'm not getting up from that. So maybe video games have given us an unrealistic expectation for how much voltage the human body can conduct. So on that note, hey,
So, final thoughts?
Dirk, are you still awake?
Dirk, are you wearing pants?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
As your
You know
attorney,
what?
you
Fair
do not
enough.
you do not have to answer that question, even though I'm not actually your attorney. Do you need an attorney? My rates are very reasonable.
My final thought is that I laugh a little bit. I have giggled quite a bit at going through this set and everything. I haven't read all the cards, but the just again ones like fording the river. Yeah, just there's a couple of them that I went through, like choose your weapon, and I'm not going to go into what it says, but it's it's ones like that where it really does feel like this is a D&D adventure, and that does kind of make me happy a little, quite a bit. So it's just it's like I said, it's the little things with this set that are making me giggle and be happy.
Good. You should be happy.
Yeah, be happy, Dirk. Damn.
I'll try.
That it?
Well, that's me.
Okay.
For me, it's really kind of interesting because until the summer of 2019, when I got together with my brother and most of the family played a session over 2 days, I had never played a single game of D&D. I've been aware of it most of my life, but it's one of those things where I see why people fall into it because in some ways it is almost like the quintessential game because there are it's basically a framework for whatever you want. The whole thing can be theater of the mind or you can go minis or whatever, but you literally fit it to be basically whatever. So I get why it certainly has the appeal. I have been enjoying it. It allows me to stretch my creative, side in a way that I haven't been able to do for a while. And I know Sam's loving it. I certainly hope the other players that are in it are enjoying it as well. I haven't gotten much in the way of feedback except keep doing what we're doing. So that's what I'm going to do. Tying it back into what we've talked about, it's amazing to me that even though I have not played this game for years the way that other people have, people that have played this game for literal decades, and I'm still looking at this stuff and I'm like, I recognize that. That's cool. The odd thing, like the froghemoth that I don't, I still really think it's neat. So I know my tendency with just about every set is to be like, that's amazing. Uh, but they this just to me is just a a home run, and we're not even nearly all the way through the set yet. Just great stuff, y'all. Just great stuff. Love it, love it, love it. I'm looking forward to talking about it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm definitely picking up some of these cards for sure. That's it for me.
Word. Mike?
Yeah, I really appreciate how they were able to bring in the feel of the tabletop game, even with something as simple as, all these cards, you hear something on watch. You see two goblins. They're ugly as hell.
Aw.
And then I was surprised I was a little surprised they went for the D20 rolling, but this is the opportune time to introduce any kind of for real dice rolling in a non silver bordered set. I was a little surprised that they went so far as to actually put the +2 mace as a card name.
I feel so bad for anybody that that's in charge of like a card database
Mhm.
because of +2 mace.
It might not be possible to search for this card in Gatherer. It might not be. You might have to specify. You might have to specify. White equipment converted mana cost 2 to make it come up. Because I don't think you'll be able to do it by card name. It just might not work unless they do something specifically for this to force it through.
Never thought about that. Of course, granted,
Poor
I saw the
Gatherer.
card for the first time today, but still.
And we didn't
Yeah,
even
this-
talk
this-
about it because what it does doesn't matter. It's called +2 mace.
Yeah. It gives +2/+2. What do you want?
Right?
But yeah, this is also something where, I'm sure this will be the first time I've bought Magic cards in a long time because I really would like to have some of these.
Nice.
There you go.
Well, as for me, I won't be buying any of these Magic cards. But, that's just me. Real quick, you can go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard, which gets you early access to podcasts. When I remember to put them together, I'm so sorry for the delay on last week's episode. But, like I had some things that happened over the weekend, and I just completely forgot that I had a podcast to put together until Monday morning when I went, oh no! And then on Tuesday, when the video was supposed to go public, I forgot I had a video to go public. So it didn't go up until yesterday. So, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully, random nonsense won't happen to my brain again this week, and you can actually get early access to this episode when you're supposed to. Lord, I've only been doing this for how many years? Jesus.
Chewy, I hate to tell you, but you're fired. Go clean out your desk.
Well, all right.
All right, now that
Was
he's
that
gone.
thunder?
It was
Raining
raining
over at my
pretty
place.
hard here for a few minutes earlier.
Oh, that was loud as hell. I don't think the mic picked it up loud, but it was still like it scared me. Okay, so you can go, like I said, patreon.com. It gets you the odds and ends. It gets you the early access. It gets you the sponsorship shout out for the Mythic Lifeguards. Hey, like Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, John Parker, Jake Jansen's, Beardy Man, Timu Hellas How Are You, PJ McMullen, Violet Moon, Scroll, The Beast Father Aaron Goodwine, Jason Kaus, Andrew Hunt, Aleph Cat, Cody Buckowing, Casey, Jeff Spencer, Gothic Man, Jason Doan, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Scroll, Connor Kennedy, Stan, and ALK Alters. Hey, we talked about him earlier. Seriously, go follow Alters ALK on Twitter. No, he did not pay me for that plug yet. But as for final thoughts for me, I finally watched all of the Conjuring movies. There's 8 of them.
Wow.
If you haven't seen Conjuring 3, which is the newest one, don't. Unless you're just dying for more. It's on HBO Max until the 4th, so by the time you're hearing this, it's probably fallen off. But I just watched it last night, and it wasn't really worth the time. Do watch Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home. Don't watch the original Annabelle. It's awful. Like, actually bad. And the rest of them are just okay. At best. So, just throwing that out there. I've had a pretty serious mental block. Like, a confidence block, really, for the, I told you I was going to do the announcement video about the MCU rewatch project, and then I sort of...
Yeah.
Like, I've worked on the script, and I kept rewriting bits and that and the other, and finally I was like, right, it's fine. I need to actually record this, and then I couldn't. I kept having, like I said, confidence issues for trying something completely new. And I finally sat down and just recorded it. And was like, right, I might have to redo this, but now I've got it done once. And I started looking through the footage earlier today, and it might be okay. I recorded it during the day because I stream at night, which means there was more light coming through the window, which means it just doesn't look right. And I sort of played with the video settings and whatnot, and then I had to go run an errand for a friend that I really didn't want to do, and it threw me off my groove, so I didn't get a chance to go back to it yet. But that's in the works, and once I get that down and done, I'll be over that initial hump. I have a real hard time with trying something new when it comes to like content. So until I do it once, and then I'm fine. So that's what the holdup is on that. Once I get it, I've already got a good chunk of the Iron Man episode written. I just have to finish writing that and capture the footage and whatnot and iron out some of the structural details on what these videos are going to be. But anyway, that's getting into shop talk that you don't care about. But the point is, I'm working my way over that first initial hump that is, for a long time, was just a vertical brick wall. And I know you might not know this about me, given all of this nonsense that I do, but I really am hesitant about, now that I'm actually doing it, if that makes sense. Because it's like I said, it's brand new, and that's scary. And yeah, hopefully once I get one or two under my belt, it'll be a piece of piss and I can just do it whenever. But anyway, that's a British term for nothing. No big deal. Piece of piss. Anyway. So yeah,
I learned something today.
Yeah, you did. You learned about a frog hemoth and about a piece of piss. But yay. But with that, yeah, we will be done. I'm also streaming stuff all the time. I've been playing. I found out that all of Hitman 1 is in Hitman 2 if you already own Hitman 1. And I was like, oh, so I've got all that installed. So now I'm not going to be playing Hitman 1 anymore. I'm just going to play Hitman 2 because it's got Hitman 1 in it, except for some of the like escalation missions. But there were too many of those, so that's fine. So that's really cool because it had just enough like upgrades and engine changes and things to make it not worth going back and playing 1. I didn't realize that the whole damn game was in there. Like, blew my mind. So that I'm gonna stream some more Hearthstone soon because I want to, and they started showing cards from the new set already today. By the way, Mike, did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere for me. I was like, wait, what? I'm gonna start streaming Teamfight Tactics soon. I've been playing long enough to where I no longer feel completely clueless. So that's cool. So they'll add that to the list. So any of you out there that still play Teamfight Tactics, maybe we'll all do like we used to do for Dota Underlords and play together. That'll be cool. And yeah, I think that's about it for now, though. So this has been episode 626 of the Mana Pool. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and roll for initiative.